Hi everybody, my name is Ellis. We're here in south central Idaho in the sugar beet field with Mike Woodland. You'll meet Mike here in a second. But what we want to tell you is some of the things that have happened to this beet field. Mike has been raising sugar beets for a long time, but in the last several years his tonnage per acre has gone up, the amount of sugar has gone up considerably. And what you're going to find out here is why. You'll meet Mike. You'll also meet a couple of very important folks that have been consultants to him. Jared Cook of Rocky Mountain Agronomics and Noel Garcia of the Texas Plant and Soil Lab. We'll visit with them in just a minute. But we want to tell you a little bit about Mike and his beets.
We would like you to meet Mike Woodland, who farms 3 sections in the Snake River Plain in south central Idaho. He grows a variety of crops, including 650 acres of sugar beets, which have a phenomenal potential for tonnage per acre and for recoverable sugar, which is the key to his revenue. Over the past 40 years of production, Mike has seen a lot of change: agronomics, genetics, equipment, and crop protection chemicals. 20 tons of sugar beets per acre used to be a really good crop, he says, but with the help of 2 consultants, he's been able to increase that by 50% and boost his recoverable sugar several percentage points.
We used to have quite a disease problem. These desert soils, rhizoctonia, phanomyces, damp off, some of those problems. Since we started experimenting, our first experiment was we had, Seth had a pivot down there, we had 2 beet fields side by side in pivots. And one he treated with the BioSI product, and the other one that, and we did late season, we were out there checking, and we could see disease on the one side, and right just on the line of the pivot, it was way less. That's when we started really paying attention to what the microbes can do as far as plant protection and health. And so we've escalated quite a bit from that part. We used to, that time we used to put it right through the pivot, hit the pivot center, pump it in. Now we do it different. We put it in with the water on low rates and just goes all the time. We changed the program. It used to be we'd get a soil test and they'd recommend what we put on. We put it on there and hope it was enough for the year. And now we have an app that tells us how much nutrients the crop will remove in, say, a 30-ton crop. We put that on pre-plant, then we monitor every 2 weeks after about the first month to see if we're still on target. And if we're not, we add a little bit more. It's either with a foliar or through the water or whatever it needs to be. It's moved our sugar percent up. We're looking in the 18s or better most every year. We've had better than that by quite a bit. But the plant health, well, we just don't have the disease in the beets that we used to. I mean, it's soil, you still find some disease, but the quality of our crop, our tonnage has been up what we used to be. Used to be if we get, 20 ton, it's smiles. That no longer cuts it in today's economy. So now you need well, just the difference in plant health. You look at them, you feel them. They're not lacy. They're almost feel like rubber, which is different than what it used to be. It used to be green, but the thickness of the leaves, some of those things, the photosynthesis, those things that transpire, healthy leaf makes so your engine, which is photosynthesis, is working full tilt. So, pretty impressive. We raise for sugar, and if you don't have the sugar, nothing else really matters. And so, our whole goal is to up the sugar, recoverable sugar per acre. You don't get paid on the looks, how straight the rows are. We get paid on the recoverable sugar that we sell. And that's the bottom line. And so if we can increase the health of that plant so that it stores more sugar, easier to refine. Higher sugar content makes it easier to refine in the factory. If it's down 12%, makes it pretty hard. Makes a lot of expensive cow feed. They'll do a petiole leaf analysis. Okay, we do a soil test early on, so we know what's down in that environment, and then we use the app there to check how much we're going to apply pre-plant fertilizer, and then as we get through the season, all the micros that are part of that whole mix of plant nutrition and plant health, then we measure those, whether you're short on boron, which is a facilitator, or calcium, or copper, or any of those other parts, magnesium and manganese. You know, they're all have an important part in the health and the movement of those those parts around the plant. And so, you know, we've used NOAA and the Texas plant to help monitor that. You know, that's something we didn't used to do. And, I think the tools to measure it are better than we've ever had. Is there room for improvement? Always. But considering what we got now, of what we used to go, you're shot in the dark. Now we're monitored a lot closer. It's well, obviously it's the color. You look at the color just from a distance, you know. If there was flowers, it'd look beautiful. No flowers on the beet.
Now that you've heard Mike Woodland's challenges and goals, let's visit with the first consultant he called, Jared Cook of Rocky Mountain Agronomics.
So, when I first met Mike, he had some major challenges that he was working through, and so, you know, general crop advisors would focus on nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium recommendations, but initially my recommendations were to seek out better information. So in working with him hand in hand, we identified his challenges and found that, you know, we needed to look for new sources of information, and Texas Plant and Soil Lab was a new laboratory, a new source of information for us.
What information did you need that he needed?
So what was interesting is Mike had a culmination of 15 years of soil sample data that he had compiled and charted in some spreadsheets. And he was able to see from back 15 years the trend of what happened with his soils. And you would expect a lot of change to occur, but pretty much flat line occurrence took place. And so we realized that we did not have the most accurate information that we needed to make the changes on his farm. You know, his farm was just a moderate productivity. Quality just kept going downhill. Why? So we started asking the questions, and in my position, I recommended to him that we take a look at new sources for information.
And what recommendations did you have for him?
So I recommended that we take a hard look at a new soil sample source. So we use Texas Plant and Soil Lab. I recommended to Mike that we implement a new petiole testing program. So like in this beet field behind us, as far as I know, we're about the only ones in this area that sample these beets every 2 weeks for petiole. So that was a very aggressive program, a complete shift in cultural plot practice, and it's made a huge difference for us.
And that shows you what sort of micronutrients are needed on beyond NP and K.
Correct, absolutely. Yeah, it has revealed to us the nutritional trend of the crop, and we've been able to fertilize accordingly all season long and meet that plant demand.
Okay.
The needed laboratory support for soil and leaf petiole analysis came from the Texas Plant and Soil Lab and its operations director, Noel Garcia.
Well, I came into the picture about 3 years ago with Mike Woodland and Jared Cook from Rocky Mountain Agronomics. They invited me over to show them what type of testing we did. And Texas Plant and Soil Lab uses a very unique soil test that actually reveals what's actually plant available for a crop, immediately available as far as soluble nutrients, as well as what the nutrients are reserved throughout the growing season. And we use carbonic acid extraction, which I'm aware of is probably the only lab using that type of extraction.
But you've looked at not only what the soil has in it and what the soil needs, but then what the plant needs, because you're taking tests of the sap here in the plant.
Exactly. We do what we call the Ask the Plant program, and that's where we take the sap from the petio, the most recent fully expanded petio, and we monitor that on a bi-weekly basis. So that will allow us to forecast up to 21 days in advance what the plant will be deficient in. So it's more of a proactive approach rather than a reactive approach, which most farmers are used to. By the time you see some visual deficiencies, it already cost you some quality parameters or even tonnage. So that's what we're trying to avoid with Ask the Plant program.
Well, that's the story from Mike Woodland's sugar beet field. You've certainly seen some very good-looking sugar beets. You've seen just how much he has increased his crop to become one of the highest sugar producers in Idaho as far as sugar beets. There's a lot of them out here. This is Stu Ellis.